Alright lads and lasses, welcome to another video on the channel. I thought this one would be sort of my comeback video. I know I haven't uploaded in about 9 to 10 months now. My last video was Red Rag to a Red Bull, an energy drink documentary. And quite frankly, I'm upset with myself that I haven't uploaded since. There were a few issues when that video was uploaded and in my personal life, which meant that I didn't feel in a good enough state to upload, but I also felt no obligation to because of a few factors that changed in my life around that time. So I wanted to discuss those today and be completely open and honest about how I've been feeling and why I've decided to come back after so long. So I'm going to cover a couple of things, and forgive us, I will sort of be unstructured. That's just the way I roll. I just remember things halfway through, especially when I'm storytelling, and I'm just like, oh, and this, and this, and this. So please forgive that. But there are four main points I wanted to discuss as to why I left YouTube and social media as in general in terms of using the platform. Number one would be college. Number two is relationship. Number three is motivation. And number four is confidence. All of them are sort of interlinked in a way. And I'm going to explain that as I obviously go through each item. So I'm going to start off with college. I was at college for 2 years. I was doing a digital journalism course. And as a result, I'd started to create videos. I'd started off on podcasting initially and writing, but then I moved to video as my interests changed, and I thought, you know what, I'm going to give this hosting thing a go. So I then moved to videos for the duration of my second year at college, and that's where we meet with the Red Rag to a Red Bull video. That video was created for my FMP, or final major project, which was my last project ever at college. And to be honest, if I'm being critical of myself, I don't think that was my best video. And in fact, I've actually got videos I plan to upload in the next couple weeks from many moons ago, which I feel are actually better videos. So, for example, there's a video from my Era 404 series, which was on the Trojan Horse and other computer related stuff. That video, I believe, is probably the best piece of content I've ever produced, closely followed by my personal data and cookies video, which again was short, sweet, to the point, and I loved that video. But my Red Rag to a Red Bull video, I sort of salvaged it, and I obviously handed that into college, and I passed with a merit, which was good enough for me, but that was also including the paperwork. But with that video, I'd sort of lost motivation and confidence in myself for the creation of content because I had all of these grand ideas in my head. Like, I've still, I think, got the ideas list now, and there's a few which I look at and I go, that's a good piece of content, but it needs to be refined. So, for example, one series called Bits, it was a short form series intended on giving you insights into little things. So, for example, personal data and cookies might be one avenue, but you could also say, I'm going to try and explain nuclear theory in under 5 minutes. And then the idea of that was to then, if that gained enough interest, so let's use the nuclear theory example, if that garnered enough interest in the short form, I would then do a long form video after the fact to then explain it in more detail for those who wanted to read on. And there was other ideas as well on that list, but that was just one that came to mind straight away because it is one that I might look to transfer over, albeit refined and in a different in a different style. Excuse me, that was a bit of gas. Then after I left college and after that video was done, I didn't feel any obligation, and since my confidence was already low due to other things in my personal life as well as the content side, I didn't feel worthy enough, or I didn't feel confident enough to create videos anymore. But I also was a very, very lazy person around that time because I think the best way to explain it would be if you were to do something at work, for example, and let's say you're on the till and you're cashing up like I do now. Um, I would feel no obligation to do that outside of work because I'm not getting paid and I'm not being watched for it. I'm not under any sort of pressure. And that's probably one of the key things because despite the fact that I would put myself under pressure to try and create videos and G myself up to create, I never would because it was me putting the pressure on. If someone else puts the pressure on, I do that. And I think that's what's aided me in being able to do this video because one of my mates, thank God for him, Matty Wilson, who is an amazing content creator, you can check some of his stuff out. He was going to do something in the distant future, which I've already put my name down for, and it is going to be amazing. But I felt like, okay, I'm going to kick my arse into gear and prove that I'm actually worth something to him, rather than me just showing up on the day and going, I've literally done fuck all for 2 years, content wise. What the fuck do you want us to do? There is obviously one thing I kept up, which was photography, but that isn't too complicated of a thing to do. I mean, everyone can do photography. Like, come on. So I've decided to try and get back into it, not only for him, but because I felt like this video or doing this video has been cycling through my mind for months now. Not just a case of, oh, I'll just do it spur of the moment. It's literally been for about 2 months solid where I've gone, I should do that video. I should come back. I should do this and I should commit to it. And I never have. And this is my breaking point where I've went, fuck it, let's do it. But if we go back to college, again, I had no pressure to do any content after the fact, so I thought, well, I'll leave it for a bit, I'll refresh and I'll come back. And I only planned on really being out of action for maybe a month or two. But that obviously then spiraled, and as my mental health got worse because I had a massive relapse, I sort of went, nah, fuck this, I'm gonna just focus on whatever else comes my way. I mean, at that point, to give you an indication, not only did I have the relationship trouble around that time, not only did I leave college, but literally about a couple of weeks prior to that, I'd lost my job and I didn't know. I'd lost my job because my boss, or former boss, closed the business without me knowing. And I know that's not my place really to comment, but that hurt. And when I reached out to him later, he went, "Yes, I did, and I'm really sorry for it." But he needed his own mental space, which I completely understood. But I would have rather have been told because I was literally skint to the point of, if you all remember, like I think it was 130 for a single, and I used to get singles instead of returns because it was cheaper, and it would be 130 each way, and I was going down to like me last month, and I had I think 40 quid, and I'm literally going, I can't, like, I literally cannot spend money, like I can't go and buy a bottle of pop, I can't go and buy this or buy that. And when you consider the fact that I was doing an energy drink video where I had to buy the energy drinks, by that point I think I had maybe 60 quid when I started recording it. And so I spent most of that money, but then obviously paying bus fare on top of that for college was a bit of a killer. And I think I did it literally by about 2 quid, 3 quid. And that was only because they reduced the bus fare down to £1. So that saved my arse massively because it was after the pandemic was lifted or something like that. I can't exactly remember what went on around that time, but the only reason I could afford it was because they dropped the bus fare at the exact right time and they upped the age. But anyway, to move this forward slightly, I then went into a relationship. So I'd been talking to this girl for about maybe 6 months before this started to spiral. I used to work with her at my old job. She was only there for a couple of months. She was a trialist when I started as a trialist myself, and we didn't hit it off straight away. And funny enough, our first communication was her asking about a timesheet that hadn't been done. Because as much as I don't want to slate my old boss or my company, we were very unorganized for being what we were, and that showed, and that was why we ultimately started communicating. So that's just me telling the truth. But it spiraled from there. And when I found out that she'd left, and this was because of other issues, mainly to do with the job itself, by the way. Like, I'm not going to go into that because I don't feel like it's my place to comment. But I'd found out she'd quit. I reached out and I went, "Hiya, I hope you're all right." And as much as I haven't worked with you much, I really hope that you have a lovely future. I hope that you're gonna do well for yourself. And we just sort of continue talking from there, and speak about like 6 months down the line, I'd started to develop feelings, even though we'd only really met at work a few times. I think I maybe worked about maybe 10 shifts with her, 10, 15 shifts in the time that she was there, if not a lot less than that. And I'd sort of gotten to a place where I was going, you know what, she comes across really well, she's really fun, she's not actually that bad looking, I'm going to give it a chance. And admittedly, I wasn't direct with her at first, but then I decided to grow a pair after her saying, if you've got something to tell us, tell us. And I did, and we continued talking from there. There wasn't really much indication from her side, but if I'm gonna like not go into complete detail on this because I think it could be a separate video, or many videos in fact. Basically, that snowballed, and I ended up asking her on a date in a poem because I'm a fucking legend. Um, but anyway, we ended up going on a date. We went out before that platonically or as a friend at my request because I felt like a date added unnecessary pressure, and that would become true because I put pressure on myself in the first date that we had. But during the friend thing, like, I've never been a physical guy. I've never hugged many people. I've started to become that in like the last month after this relationship broke down. But I was never ever that big on physical intimacy as it should be called. And by that I mean hugging, not fucking, alright? Just to clarify. My dad's watching, probably. So I need to be perfectly clear on that. But that relationship broke down because, and this is my opinion, she did end things off via text. That can be proven. She just said like, look, I don't want you in my life for a while. She never said never, but she has contacted us since, and I've not been happy with her. I will admit I've not been nice to her because I grew resentment in that time because she'd said I'd done nothing wrong, but I truly think it was the argument we had about a couple of months before it broke down. Basically, the long and short of it was I'd raised an argument because she changed how she was with me. She'd started to become short with us. She didn't care unless I had something to offer, whether that be a poem or whatever. And I'd sort of gotten to a point where I was being used, and I went, I'm not having this, and I said it to her. She tried to turn it around on me and blame me for it, and then I didn't have it, and I went, no, I'm standing my ground. I did end up apologising the next day for the way I put it across, but I said that I stood by everything I said, and that was the first time I'd ever really shown any sort of pushback. And I think that she didn't like that fact. Now, I obviously can't comment on her side of the story. I do know she was going through a little bit of a stressful time, but me being a heartless bastard said, because she had a couple of things, I went, well, one of those is a need, not a want. or sorry, is a want, not a need, I should say. And I was thinking to myself, why don't you sack that in? And like, I'm more than willing to take a back seat, but if you're purposely putting pressure onto yourself where you shouldn't have been, but that's not my place to comment. Anyway, that relationship broke down after the fact, and that put me into a spiral because I'd really fallen for her, and that again, more than anything, convinced us not to create content because I just wasn't in a right space. I'd felt literally heartbroken for about a month, and then I got over it. I went on Tinder and stuff like that, and I really started to spiral because I started to see me fall back into old habits that I thought I'd beaten because I was literally in the best mental position of my life prior to this. And then that sort of just set us on a bad path. Um, and then, as I said, my confidence and my motivation kept taking hits until September last year. September last year, probably one of the most important months of my life because it was the first time in a long time where I'd fought back. I'd been reached out to about 2 weeks before by um, the lady I was with, and I just felt angry at the world. I was really angry about it. And then I went to the end of the month and I started to experience health issues like, you know, like bad chest and stuff like that, bad chest pains and just feeling weak and sick. So I went for a walk. And little did I know, but 6 months later, I'd still be walking. I'd still be doing them every day. And I've maybe missed 3 days, 4 days in the whole time I've been doing it. And what that provided was a space for me to clear my head, to get rid of all of the anger, resentment that I'd built up towards her, towards or all of the laziness I'd built up. And I started to become more physically better looking and also physically healthy, but also mentally healthy. And I'm still continuing that to this day. 6 months down the line, I'm still going. I'm still proud to be doing it, and it quite honestly, I feel, saved my life. Walking saved my life, and I'll forever be grateful for it. My interests have changed quite a lot because I've now actually lent into the fitness thing. I really enjoy the fitness element of my life, and I feel like I can bring that content to you as well as a couple of mental health series because I'm a lot more mature now than I maybe was then. I mean, I was a bit arrogant back then because I was confident, and then I think just taking it one step at a time at the moment. But I decided to come back because I felt like it was the right time. I felt like I'm fully rejuvenated. I'm getting to that point now where I'm mentally resilient and I feel like I'm actually worth something in this industry and I would love to be able to prove that worth. I love every person who stuck by us in the difficult times. I've still got my demons to battle with. And not like depression or anything like that, but there's other demons that I've got which I don't feel comfortable putting on camera or in fact even to my own family, but I've got demons to battle. I keep fighting them, and I'm hoping that I can take you on a journey with us, create some excellent content along the way, bring you some series that I've been waiting to do for about 2 years now, and fulfill my dream of being a content creator, journalist, and media personality. Thank you so much for watching, guys. I love yous all, and I will see you in the next video, which I'm hoping should be next week or so. But look out for my old videos as well. I will be uploading them. See you later. Bye bye.